Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Terry Ryan. This is my channel and we talk here about little things that I've learnt along the way. A lot of this was in my childhood, going through bullying and also going through domestic violence, which I wrote a book on. This is my book. You can buy a copy on my website, which is Terry with an I dash Ryan.com.au. If you go on there, there's a selling tool and you can buy a copy for yourself. It's $20 and $3.45 if you're in Australia. You can get that posted to you ASAP. And also my book is becoming available on Amazon, which means that if you're in America you can buy it on Amazon. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get it sent to you that way. I've been going through little topics because of my little book of Triumph from Trauma. I've been going through different topics that I wrote at the end of the book about different things that I've learnt along the way. And I recently just had a book launch locally out at the golf club, and it was lovely going out there presenting my book and meeting a few new people along the way. And I told my story, a little bit of my story about what happened to me going through the trial of domestic violence and what I learnt along the way. And the main thing that I wanted to bring out today and what I'd like to talk about today is about expressing yourself, bringing out your hurts and not being afraid to be yourself. If you've been through domestic violence and any kind of bullying, you do have a bit of you lack a bit of self-confidence and a bit of low self-esteem, and quite often you find it very hard to express yourself as you've been hurt in the past, and quite often hold that hurt deep within. In my case, I did hold that hurt within, and I did not seek counselling and thought that I might be able to just forget it, just push it aside and get on with my life, which wasn't the case because I did go through post-traumatic stress syndrome, which meant that I would quite often walk around after my abuser's death and see him everywhere, think that he was still there. I was seeing him in people, which he had been deceased for quite a while. This went on for a couple of years, and then I also woke up with nightmares every night, screaming, believing that he was chasing me with a knife, which was what he used to do when we were together. He was abusing me. He used to put knives up against my throat, etc. Anyway, I thought that I could do it. I used to go to church too and pray about it a lot, and thought that, you know, it was going to be a mind over matter thing. If I put something else in my mind, that it wouldn't exist. But I found out after going through about 10 years of post-traumatic stress that it just wasn't going to go away, because my self-conscious, it was stuck there. And because I'd buried it so deep, I couldn't deal with it. It was coming out at night time or at the times when I was most vulnerable. So I found out that the way I needed to deal with it was express it. I needed to bring the pain up to the surface and get it out and deal with it and face it. And that's exactly what I did. And I started doing this in a way of expressing myself with song, writing songs and writing poetry. And then a few years ago I started writing everything that happened to me. And I wrote it down, and I must say it did hurt. It hurt bringing it up to the surface. I had many tears and a lot of emotions, but I managed to face it and get it out. One thing I did do before my abuser was actually killed, and it was probably, I would say, about a couple of weeks before he was killed, I finally came to a situation where I was able to forgive him. And forgiving him wasn't for his sake, it was for my sake, because I needed to release that burden, that hate, which sort of created a lot of energy, took a lot of energy from me by hating him. So I came to the place where I forgave him as a person. I never ever would forgive the acts that were done to me, or allow him any place near me to be able to do the same things again, but I had to forgive him. So that was one thing, and that was a huge release for me. It was a big release coming off my shoulders, and I did get a sense of peace that way, but I still hadn't dealt with the things that he'd done to me from the past. And there was also other things done to me in my childhood which I hadn't confronted. So I actually wrote a second book. I still haven't had that published yet. I'm just waiting for the right time to do that. But I wrote about other things from my past, the hurts. And I realised that us coming from a time way back when I was a child, it was a time of children to be seen and not heard. So I wasn't really encouraged to express my feelings or express who I was. So therefore, it wasn't just in my family, it was just the time of that it was back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. You weren't really encouraged to express yourself. So therefore, a lot of things that had been done, and even since coming out about my situation and writing my book, I remember going to my mother. I showed her the book, although she does have Alzheimer's, so she can't remember it. But she read the blurb on the back, and the first thing she said to me was, "Oh, I wouldn't show your son that. It's going to upset him." And I said, "No, that's exactly what it needs to happen. It all needs to come out in the open. We're in 2019 and things need to be brought out into the open. And the reason why so many people suffered and traumatic syndrome exists is because that hurt is buried deep down within you, and it actually does need to come out. It has to be faced, because so long as you're not facing your pain and your fears, it remains in your subconscious, and it's constantly going to keep coming back to bite you again and again and again. It will come out in ways such as depression. It will come out in ways of mental illness, addictions, nightmares. It will come out in physical ailments such as ulcers and all the matter of things, even cancer. And it's all your emotional hurt and the things that happen to you where you don't express them and deal with them, and be able to sit comfortably in peace with them. This is what causes your physical ailments and your mental illnesses and the addictions and everything else that goes along with it. So therefore, we need to bring these things out into the open where we can deal with them, and we can set them aside, comfortably look at them, realise that these things have happened, and also realise these things do happen for a reason. Like in the case of me with my abuser, he was actually the perfect person for me because I was such a shy person who didn't express myself, who had no self-confidence to begin with, even before I came to marry him. And he more or less got me to the stage where I was backed into the corner, and it was either fight tooth and nails or just surrender to him. And the one thing I did have going for me at the time was I was pretty stubborn. I was quite a stubborn person. Even my mother would tell you that. She used to whack me, and I would just sort of look at her because I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of feeling happy about hitting me. So And she even says it to this day, how frustrated she used to get with me because I was so stubborn. But in actual fact, stubborn was a very good thing that I had in my nature, because if I hadn't have been stubborn, it wouldn't have got me through. So therefore, I was stubborn and I wasn't going to let him win in the end. So I did end up rescuing myself. It was baby steps, crawl in, baby steps, and then I rescued myself and my sons, and I didn't turn back. But what I had to do to actually heal, and this took, like I say, up to 10 years after he was killed, I had to release the hurt from within and release the burdens that I felt and face them head on, face the things that were hurting me and holding me back. And the other thing I found too was, while I was sort of keeping that hurt within, I was not actually being myself as well. I wasn't being the true person that I was, and because of that I suffered the depression and I suffered a bit of mental illness as well. I think there was one stage I went to the doctor with the moods that I had, and he told me it was bipolar. I didn't have bipolar, I really didn't. I just had all this pent up emotion and stress and everything else that I needed to deal with, because eventually when I dealt with it I came good. So but I mean, it was a big wake up call to me, going through that depression and everything. There was times that I felt suicidal as well, and it was all due to not opening up and facing my truths and going the path that I was meant to go. I was allowing others to lead me as to what was right and what was wrong. But eventually I had to empty all that. I had to realise, well, I'm here on my own path and my own track, and I need to go the way I need to go. And people need to accept me the way I am. And so therefore I stopped being someone that I thought I should be and started to be myself, started to become myself as an individual and as the person that I was born to be. And I went my own way. And it was after that time I did gain a great sense of peace and fulfillment in my life. I started to feel happy about myself, and I started to express myself. And I also realised at the same time, once I started to really be real and the real person that I am, then people seemed to accept me more. I wasn't pretending to be somebody that I wasn't, and started to be the person that I was. So today, this is the point I wanted to get across. Was you need to release your hurt to be able to move forward. And the other thing is, don't ever be afraid to be who you are. So don't be a person that you think that everybody expects you to be, but you can be yourself, and you need to find peace within yourself and surrender to that peace and to that individuality that is within you. And that was about all that I had to say today on the subject today, and I hope everybody's having a nice week. And if you'd like to hear more of these little talks, please press the subscribe button and the bell, and you won't miss out on one of these. And if you've got any comments whatsoever, please just pop them down in the comment box. That'd be great. All right, until next time, have a happy week. Bye.